Hey everyone, this is Sanriel, and I'm here to talk about Soldak Entertainment. Soldak Entertainment is pretty much a one-man company. It's run by a guy named Stephen Peeler. He used to be the technical director of another company called Ritual Entertainment, which was around from the late 90s until about 2007. They made several games. One of them was Heavy Metal Fact 2, which I've played, and it came out in the early 2000s. It was pretty decent. Actually, it was pretty good, but by today's standards, the graphics were kind of, whatever. But anyway, I think it was based on the Quake 3 engine or maybe the Quake 2 engine. I'm not sure. But so, moving on. Right now, the company has 4 games to their credit. There's Depths of Peril, which came out in September 2007. There's Kiwi's Underworld, which came out in November 2008, which I have not played, although I should, because I really like this company. And then there's Den's Curse, which came out in March 2010, and that's the first one I played. I actually don't remember how I heard about it. It wasn't on Steam. I think I just ran across an article or something. And then there was Drox Operative, which came out in November 2012, and as soon as that came out, I just grabbed it. And I think it was just last year or the year before last when all those games except for Kiwi's Underworld came out on Steam. So you can get them all on Steam. They're pretty cheap, around 10, 15 bucks or so. And definitely a lot of fun. They're very addictive. I mean, you can just lose hours and hours playing these games. It's the kind of game you can play while you're listening to podcasts or audiobooks, or if you just want to kind of zone out and just run around and kill stuff. All of these games, at least the ones I've played, they're all very similar. They definitely have that Soldak signature. They have procedurally generated dynamic worlds, so the enemy factions will fight each other and level up and wreak havoc, spawn minions, they'll create devices. Sometimes when 2 enemies are fighting each other for a while and one of them keeps defeating other enemies, it'll turn into a green enemy, and then it keeps defeating enemies and it'll turn into a yellow enemy, and then it'll turn into a boss and you have to go kill it, like a red boss, and then it turns into a purple boss and it's really tough. And when they become bosses, then they create machines, or they cause like uprisings of whatever type of enemy they are. So they'll like recruit followers and stuff, or they'll create like a gate, or on Den's Curse they'll sometimes invade the town and you have to go defend the town, and then they're running around killing all these NPCs and stuff. So it's really cool. All their games, they have all these quests that the NPCs will give you, and they're based on what these enemies are doing. So if there's a boss, or an enemy becomes a boss down on level 5 of the dungeon or whatever, then the enemies up in, or the friendly NPCs up in town one of them will have a quest to go kill that boss. And then if that boss creates an anti-magic machine or something like that, somebody will create a quest for you to go destroy that anti-magic machine. And so things are always changing from one map to the next, and each one has a set of victory conditions. So once you meet these conditions, whatever it is, it depends on what the game is and stuff like that. Like on Den's Curse, it's completing a certain number of quests or something like that. And then, so you beat that map, but then you go into another one, and now it's got new enemies, new monsters, and you'll have different bosses to fight and stuff like that. So they're really cool. And sometimes the NPCs will have their own problems, like one of them will be starving and it'll need you to, if you look at it, if you go and talk to them, you'll see how much money they've got, and if they're in the negative, they can't buy food. They generate a quest for you to give them money, and then when you give them money, your reputation goes up, stuff like that. They all have kind of unique class systems. Most of them have different tiers that you can spend points into to unlock certain abilities that are themed. Like the priest class will have paladin type abilities. It'll also have priest type abilities, and it'll have druid type abilities or something like that. But we'll get into those later, into specifics of what those are. And then when you create a world, it lets you set it up with different conditions. You can choose what level the enemies are. You can choose how fast events happen. You can make the creatures level up really fast, and it generates a lot of bosses and stuff. But what happens is if you get a quest to go kill a boss, and then that boss goes and does something really horrible, like creates a gate or causes some type of other event, sometimes it'll make you fail that quest because you didn't get to that boss before it did whatever it was going to do. So if you set it up too high or too fast, then you can't get the bosses in time for to get quest credit, and you're always failing quests left and right. So you kind of have to balance it. They also get really difficult, I've noticed, up around by the time you get up over level 10 or so. If you don't spend your points just right, then you can easily get yourself into some difficult situations. But they all allow respecs, so you can just trade your points and pick up other skills and try different things. So that's pretty cool. When you die, you get XP debt, and it doesn't make you lose XP. It just lowers the speed that you gain XP. And the more times you die, the longer that debt will go. And sometimes it can span like a whole level. But on all three of the games I've played, Depths of Peril, Den's Curse, Drox Operative, when you die, you drop something. And if you go back and pick that up, then it pays off a significant chunk of your debt. Usually the XP you've gained by the time you get back to that item, when you pick it up, you won't have any debt anymore. So it's not really that big of a deal, but I have been on games before where I just kept dying over and over and over, and I was just in serious debt. And in Drox Operative, you're an operative, you're this agent, and you're out there working for this I don't know, some company that they're peacekeepers, or I don't know what they're doing. But anyway, they've sent you on this mission to go and infiltrate this universe and get involved with these different factions. And if you die too much, then they'll be like, hey, you've lost too much money on this map, because you have to go and repair and stuff like that. You've lost too much money on this map, and then there's a timer. Earn that money back before the timer goes away, or you lose. So it can get a little tricky. Items that you pick up are color-coded. Basic items are white. There are cool items that are green. There are even better items that are yellow, and sometimes you'll even see like purple items and stuff. So it's got a color coding system similar to WoW or something. And there are also set items, so you can collect sets, and they'll have stashes like personal stash and shared stash, these chests, and there are also slots where you can put bags or cargo containers or whatever. And that way, like the way the inventory works, it's a lot like World of Warcraft or something like that, where you collect bags. You can get bigger and bigger bags and put them down there on your slots, or you can put them in your bank, your shared stash or your personal stash. And shared stash is pretty cool. So if you find items that are parts of sets or something that's really nice, like a purple item or whatever, then you can put it in your shared stash and use it on different characters. And the enemies also are color coded. So basic enemies like minions are white, and then when they start killing other enemies and leveling up, they turn green, and then they turn yellow and red and purple, and they can get really tough really fast. So that's the basics of the Soldak Entertainment games. Later on, we'll go look at some specifics. Thanks for watching, and have fun.